name is Councillor Tommy Gray, the Mayor of Chorley. I would like to welcome you to the meeting. Can we welcome Sarah Bullock, our new Deputy Chief Executive, who will be joining the Council in January. Members of the public are welcome to observe the proceedings on YouTube. Due to the regulations on please speak on a microphone so everyone can hear you. Please do not obstruct your mouth and speak slowly. Ensure that everyone lip reading can do so. If anyone is having issues, please let the Democratic Services know. Some housekeeping. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if the alarm sounds, please exit the way you came in. Please ensure that any mobile phones are switched to silent. If the technology fails, I will adjourn the meeting to try and resolve the issue. Right. Yeah. Apologies. Councillor Matthew Lynch. Are there any declarations of interest? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agenda item 7. Whilst I appreciate that the item refers to the post rather than the individual, as chairman of the governance committee, I abstain from the vote.
Right. No. Right. Minutes of meeting Tuesday 19th of September 2023 of the Council, pages 3 to 8. This item is for decision. There are issues to raise on the accuracy of the minutes. Councillor Bradley, please can you present the minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I propose that the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday the 19th of September 2023 are taken as a true and correct record. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Wilson, please can you second?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
All those for? Anyone against? Abstentions? No. Mayoral announcements. The Mayor's Christmas tea dance. I will be holding a Christmas tea dance in the Lancastrian on Wednesday, the 6th of December, 1 p.m. to 3:30. The afternoon will include dancing led by Jason Parkinson and a raffle. All proceeds will go to my chosen charities. Tickets are £6.50, which includes tea, coffee and homemade cakes. To reserve your places, please contact Paula Bringle. Right. Employer Recognition Scheme, Gold Award. On Thursday, the 16th of September 23, Councillor Murray and Beaver, accompanied by Community Engagement Officer John Hill, attended the Ministry of Defence Employer Recognition Scheme, ERS, Gold Award. Presentation evening at Eaton Park Estate in Chester, the home of the Duke of Westminster. At this event, Chorley Council was awarded the ERS Gold Award to go along with the previous achieved ERS Bronze and Silver Awards in this scheme. This means that Chorley Council are an exemplar in paying due regard to and providing excellent support to the armed forces community, and also demonstrates that Chorley Council aligns its values with the armed forces, convenience and the covenant duty. The Defence Employer Recognition Scheme, ERS, encourages employers to support defence and inspire others to do the same. The scheme encompasses bronze, silver and gold awards for employer organisations that pledge, demonstrate or advocate support to defence and armed forces community and align their values with the Armed Forces Covenant. The ERS is designed primarily to recognise private sector support, although public sector organisations such as emergency services, local authorities, NHS trusts and executive agencies are also eligible to be recognised. White Ribbon UK 2023. For this year's White Ribbon Day and 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, I am holding a reception on 28th of November at 10:30 AM. This will be raised the new White Ribbon flag on Town Hall to have the Town Hall clock lit white to acknowledge support for the White Ribbon campaign, to raise awareness of gender-based violence and to promise never to use excuse or remain silent about men's violence against women. There will be an awareness raising market stall at Charlie Market awaiting confirmation of the date, and a further event in support of violence against women and girls. There will be further events throughout the year in support of White Ribbon, and this will be planned with the White Ribbon Accreditation Renewal, committing our support for further 3 years. Waving off the medevac vehicles for Ukraine. Charlie and District Support for Ukraine would like to invite members to wave off 2 medical evacuation vehicles as they set off to Ukraine on Saturday, the 25th of November. The Ukraine unit, located at Market Walk Extension, will open to the public at 9:15. The vehicles will then be loaded up with donations at 9:30 AM before they set off from the unit by 10 AM at the latest. For any queries, please email Stuart Cluel. Lastly, Democratic Services have left some forms on each desk. Please complete them and return to the team. Public question. Yep. Oh.
I know it's unusual to comment on your notices, Mr. Mayor, but congratulations on that very arduous task of getting through that 2 pages of notes. They've loaded you up this time, haven't they, Mr. Mayor?
Certainly are.
But I also just wanted to mention, to pay tribute to your sterling walk of 15 miles alongside 1,000 other Santas last week, alongside Councillors Berry, myself, Councillor G, and Councillor Lynch, who still hasn't recovered because he's having to dial in tonight because his legs still aren't right. But well done, Mr. Mayor. I think the last count it was £37,000 that event had raised, and I admired a mayor of your age making it up there and back, only fueled by alcohol, obviously, and a few pints. But if you are doing it next year, Mr. Mayor, do a bit more practice. That's all I'll be saying.
Yeah, but do it to training.
But well done, thank you.
All right. Public questions. No public questions have been submitted. Corporate strategy. Corporate strategy refresh. 23 to 24, pages 9 to 40. This item is for decision. Councillor Wilson, can you present the report? Councillor Bradley, can you second?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And can I also congratulate you on your sterling efforts to walk to Rivington Pike and back, and risk getting COVID and everything else that went round, but it was a sterling effort, and I won't tell you what Councillor Bradley said about the speed of your walk, but you did it, you got there, you got back. and you're here tonight, which is more important. I'm delighted to present the corporate strategy for the forthcoming year, Mr. Mayor, and would like to start by obviously thanking Polly in particular in the policy team for all the work that she's done on bringing this strategy together. But it's also a time to say thank you to all our officers actually at the council, because what the report does, Mr. Mayor, is highlight the work that we've done over the past 12 months on delivering on the priorities, on the key projects that this council agreed to at last year's corporate strategy meeting. And you can see from the report, and I will make reference to it in a moment, some of the success that we've had in delivering those schemes. And what the essence of the work that we do is that we do stay focused on those key projects, and our officers do deliver some excellent services. And like everything, nothing's perfect. Like everything, sometimes we don't meet the standard we expect. But on the whole, we do an excellent job, and that's not one person's responsibility. That's everyone who works in this organisation, and everyone should be equally proud and equally pleased with what we've achieved. And I will also, Mr. Mayor, just echo your welcoming comments to Sarah Bullock, who's sat over at the back of the room there. She's very, very keen because she's turned up tonight even before she started working for us. But hopefully that's a good sign. But we look forward to Sarah and the other directors who we appointed starting in the new year, and hopefully building on the work that we've done and building on the work that we're going to outline in the plan this evening. So the strategy, Mr. Mayor, is very, very similar in one respect to what we saw last year, because the four priorities remain the same for this council. The four key priorities, which are housing, a sustainable or a green and sustainable borough, an enterprising economy, and also the health, safe and engaged communities. So those priorities stay the same, and that's for a good reason, because those priorities are the priorities that we as an administration believe reflect the need, the desires and the outcomes that the members of the public who we represent expect from us. So they stay exactly the same. So if we go through each one, Mr. Mayor, as detailed in the report, we can see that on the first item on housing, we can see over the last year what's been achieved in that department, and that's obviously Councillor Howarth and his team there have done a lot in these last few months. We've seen, most impressively, Mr. Mayor, the delivery of Tatton Gardens. So that's obviously a 60-plus new bed facility, and that's actually that supported living that we've spoken about a lot. We saw in the Primrose Gardens, we saw that success, and we went further. But where Tatton exceeds those original, the original projects, is that we have the new GP surgery there, we have the cafe, we have new community and recreation facilities. And when you go and visit there, and I know lots of members have, it is a wonderful facility. It does provide a lot of needs, not just for those who live there, but for the wider community as well. And everything that we set out in the vision has come to fruition. And early in the new year, we will see that facility fully occupied. And I think it will provide quality accommodation for many, many people of this borough for many, many years to come. And we should be rightly proud of delivering that wonderful facility for for our residents. We've also seen other improvements, other work being done on energy efficiency for people, and the advice that this council provides and supports people who have issues perhaps with needing to improve their home energy efficiency. And we've also been working hard on the local plan, not as quickly as we want, Mr. Mayor, but we've been working hard on that, and that will continue into this year. So moving forward into 2024, we still maintain housing as a key priority, and we still work on things such as the local plan. We still work on home efficiency, but we also have new measures in there, Mr. Mayor. One of the key pieces of work this year is the delivery of the homelessness strategy. We know that the issue of homelessness is a problem. We know that it affects our residents in Chorley like it affects everyone. But speak to anyone who works in that field, speak to anyone who works for the charities that support people who are homeless, and they all say that prevention is the key, not dealing with the problem when it's too late, although you have to do that. But prevention is the key to tackling the problem. So our refresh of that strategy, working with our partners, will be a crucial body of work for the next 12 months. We've also got to work on refreshing our housing strategy, again, identifying people's needs. But again, something that's new in this year's strategy is the projects on housing standards. It's something that we as a group have discussed at length. The need to ensure that people are living in accommodation that is worthy, not as some substandard accommodation that we've seen, not just in the private sector. I'll be completely blunt, Mr. Mayor. It's with the housing associations as well, where standards fall well below what you'd expect anyone to put up with. And we as a council can play a key role in helping highlight those problems and bring about effective change and improve standards for our residents. On the subject of green and sustainable borough, I think the council has done a fantastic job again over the last 12 months. We've seen the work done by Councillor Lowe and Councillor Clifford in particular on the working group, and we hit one major achievement over the last 12 months, Mr. Mayor, which is we planted in excess of our target of 116,000 trees, which was one resident for every borough, one tree for every resident of the borough, even rather than one resident for a tree. One tree for every resident of the borough. And obviously that is something that we set out 3 years ago to achieve, Mr. Mayor. We've done it. It's great. We continue with our tree giveaway schemes. We've continued to do such things, wildflower meadows, and that's very impressive work. It's local, it's in certain areas, but when you piece it together across the borough, it comes out as a very, very effective scheme to actually improve our biodiversity and improve the air that we all breathe. That remains a key priority and a key focus for the forthcoming 12 months, Mr. Mayor. And it has to, it's going to, and it's going to for a long time. I think we all know that the need to address the climate change is a massive task. We all have a part to play. So yes, we continue to work in this area. We have just a one-year target this time of 23,000 trees to be planted. I am sure we will achieve that. I had a very interesting meeting only a couple of weeks ago with our officers and the Forestry Commission, and looking at how we can rewild, as it were, some of the parts of the borough. And what was very, very encouraging is the work that the Forestry Commission do shows that the potential for planting in our area is quite significant. So that's hopefully something that we can all get on board with and deliver some real improvements. In terms of schemes that are actually in the plan for this year, we've got the renewal of our bush shelters, which is really important. We've got an extension of what we want to do with our recreation and open spaces by having more green flag awards, which I'm sure we will achieve. And likewise, we want to support our businesses, whether it's in rural or in urban areas, through the grant scheme that we've introduced, and also obviously advise and support those again in terms of improving energy efficiency. So I'm sure we will achieve all those measures, but they are big issues to deal with and grapple with. But once again, this council remains at the forefront of those challenges, not in the back row. The council has always been, and we have always been, looked to be enterprising. We've always looked to support business. We've always looked to do more to get people into jobs and match skills to jobs in our community. We have done significant work on that in the past 12 months, Mr. Mayor, something that Councillor Bradley has largely led on. And probably one of the key projects, the visible projects, is the delivery of Strawberry Meadows, which is now 97% full, which is excellent. We've also seen more people coming into the strawberry fields. So we've got real progress there in bringing jobs and skills into the area and actually delivering again on key projects set out by this council. And of course, turning to this year's plan, some of that work continues. So the work with skills and jobs continues. We continue to maybe try and finesse what we do in terms of working with employers and linking that up to the skills and young people coming out of school or college who are looking for work. But one of the big changes this year, Mr. Mayor, and one of the newest schemes we've got is the destination management plan, and that hopefully is going to take this council to another level when it comes to actually attracting people to our area. I think, and I'm sure all members agree, that Chorley is a fantastic place. I look around the borough, I look at the offer we've got. You can go to Rivington, you can go to Horton Tower, you can go to Astley Hall, you can come to events that this council provides, such as Flower Show, Chorley Live, whatever it is. But we need that now to be pieced together. We need that to be packaged together to sort of sell that to everyone, sell it beyond the Chorley footprint, sell it beyond the Northwest footprint, sell it across the country. Let's actually make Chorley the destination place to go to. We can tap into expertise that is there. People have worked on other projects in other areas. So let's bring all that together. So when you come to Chorley, you get sold the vision for the area, you get sold what's on offer. Wherever you go, you know what else is happening in that area. And I think this is a real way of actually significantly increasing our, not just visitors, but people who will then come back and then maybe want to work here, live here, and spend more time, whether it's in our town, in our villages. And I think this will actually be a major driver for economic regeneration, as well as purely on the tourism footing. So, Mr. Mayor, that is exciting. Now, the one thing that's not in the report, members, only because it was announced yesterday quite clearly, is the levelling up monies that were awarded. and it's obviously a significant award of £20 million. That's something obviously going to be a major project for this council, but obviously it's not in the papers tonight for reasons as stated. But that redevelopment of the town centre with the monies mentioned, the civic square being a key element to that, we've discussed that in the past in this council chamber. That will obviously be now brought forward and form a major part of that, this work within the remit of enterprising economy. Finally, Mr. Mayor, on these projects, we have the ever growing, unfortunately, problem of dealing with people's health and well-being. And this council, again, has been at the forefront of some of that work with Councillor Murray in particular and her officers. And I think we should pay tribute there to all the officers who have been involved in recent years since COVID and since the cost of living crisis has hit. Because this council has adapted its work with the county council as well to actually make sure that people are getting the help they need. And if we just reflect on some of the projects that have been underway in Chorley, we have the Warm Spaces programme, which has supported 2,800 residents. We've had the Uniform Swap Shop, which has supported 6,700 households. We've moved on to work in the health and wellbeing programme, such as the Holiday Activities and Food programme, supporting 1,400 young people. These are major numbers in our communities, and this council has been at the forefront of making sure that money is spent where it's needed to help those people most in need. And we should all be very, very proud of what we've done there, but we should also make sure we have one eye to the future, and that's exactly what we have in this plan, Mr. Mayor, because for 2024, again, we've got the enhanced social prescribing service, which is aimed particularly at the early years. We've done work in the social prescribing before. It does bring benefits, but to get into that earlier age group, particularly to help those perhaps who are facing problems very, very early on. We're also going to build on the work at the cost of living plan and the health and wellbeing programme. And then another key element to this health and safe communities, Mr. Mayor, is antisocial behaviour. Now, we know antisocial behaviour is an issue across the board, not just in Chorley, everywhere. We do have issues, particularly sometimes in local, whether it's in Buckshaw, whether it's in the town centre or Adlington or anywhere, I can name anywhere these issues spike up. We know the police are stretched, but we also need to make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that our villages and our town feels like a safe and welcoming place to be. So that's why it goes in as a project this year, Mr. Mayor. It is not to say that it's a problem that's uncontrollable. It is not. We can definitely deal with it, but it definitely needs to be up there as a priority for this council to work with the police and people who use our towns and villages to make sure that it's safe and welcoming for them to visit. So the corporate strategy, Mr. Mayor, builds on what we've done and it goes further. And that's the message from this corporate strategy, is we build on the good work we've done. We build on the priorities that we know our residents want to see us deliver as a council, but we go further, we continue with our ambition. And despite a very, very difficult financial climate that we always know exists, despite very, very difficult issues with rising inflation, pay awards, obviously, as a result of that have gone up, this council's managed to stay on a very, very firm footing, on a firm financial footing. And those decisions that we made to invest, those decisions that we made to make sure we balanced the budget but still delivered on our priorities are why we can present the plan that we have tonight. It is still ambitious, it delivers on the needs of our residents, and therefore, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to propose the corporate strategy for the forthcoming year. Thank you.
Members, any comments or questions? Or Councillor Bradley, yeah. Please, can you second?
You can forget me anytime you like, Mr. Mayor. You mentioned me earlier, so you've probably moved on. Yes, a very comprehensive update there from Peter, as usual, supported by the team with Polly and the rest of them. The strategy is very much continuation of what we've done before. We showed that in the budget back in February. This is a continuation, and this launches then into next year. And why is that, Mr. Mayor? Because, as Peter explained, tough times. Our residents out there have been through an awful lot of problems over the last few years, and they will keep coming, Mr. Mayor. Despite the fact that we're hearing nationally about tax cuts for the rich as some sort of pre-election giveaway, ultimately, we are all facing tough times, and therefore we need to be supporting residents as part of our strategy, and that's what this strategy sets out to do. So, of course, Mr Mayor, Peter concentrated on some of the areas. I'd like to pick up on some of the things he maybe didn't quite mention or didn't pick up on quite as much, because that's part of my job to do this now. But certainly my own area of directorate, I think, as well as the great schemes and the Strawberry Meadows and the Strawberry Fields that Peter picked up on, what I'm very excited about is the UK SPF work that we're going to do around the rural prosperity. It's an area, quite rightly, the opposition have raised in the past about what are we doing, how do we do it. The problem we've had a little bit is a very disparate group to deal with, because all kinds of business operate in the rural areas. They're not all just one kind of sector. But we have an earmarked grant package now for them. We have earmarked programmes on the back of feedback we've received from rural businesses about what they want, which surprisingly, Mr Mayor, or not surprisingly, are very similar to what everybody wants. We see the shaping of business in terms of the shortage of skilled workers, and also the gap to people who are economically inactive. And that was a report that came to Cabinet recently about why Chorley has so many economically inactive people. We need to close that gap. And again, the relaunch of our economic strategy and the work we plan to do next year will hopefully plug some of those gaps. And that shaping of the local business community. And we will discuss later on the agenda around woodlands. Peter mentioned the levelling up monies, but we have continued to do work around those levelling up schemes, even though we weren't successful a year ago. And therefore, that is very much part of this wider strategy. The green agenda, Peter again referenced many items that we're going to do. And just to keep Councillor Beaver happy, electrical vehicle charging will also be covered in that as well. So I look forward to that debate, Councillor Beaver, as and when it comes along. Because we know people still face unacceptable energy costs. Unacceptable energy costs. It is not a market. It is a stitch-up at times, and therefore our residents need help. The housing areas, Peter outlined in great detail, and housing quality is certainly an issue in this community. Myself and Councillor Murray were out just on Saturday morning. We knocked on a door with a toddler, stood with a guy who was talking to, who said there are 2 bedrooms upstairs in a 3-bedroomed house we cannot use because rain's coming through the ceiling. And he showed me a picture. He didn't take me in the loft, he showed me a picture of his loft. And to be quite blunt, it was like the sky at night. There was more sky than there was roof. That is not, to me, fit for children to live in Chorley in the 21st century. We have a major job of work around housing standards in this town and in this borough, and you will see that in all our communities. And also, Mr Mayor, the healthy and safe communities. We are not seeing things getting better. We're going back into a winter, the second winter around warm spaces, the second winter where people need assistance. And again, while I'm all up for a tax cut myself, I think real investment should be put back into people's communities so they can actually get through the winter without having to go to public spaces to keep warm and to be fed. And we keep seeing higher and higher demand, as Councillor Murray will tell you, for food kitchens and for larders and all the rest of it, which again is a sign of a community in crisis at times, and we need to be able to step in. So, Mr Mayor, happy to support the plan, happy to support that continuity. Yes, it's a bit exciting, the news yesterday, because that gives us another large project to do. Large projects can be a diversion, because ultimately what this council's here to do is to ensure that our community gets through the next few years, whatever government we see appearing next year. And this plan, I believe, Mr Mayor, will do that for Chorley. And thanks to Peter and the team for putting it together. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Any comments or questions? Right. Where's the scene? Yeah, I see, Councillor. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to pay tribute to some of the strategy here. First of all, social prescribing has greatly improved the quality of life for many residents, and in particular our emerging communities. The Council's partnership work with our diverse organisations contributes greatly to the success of social prescribing. And secondly, Town Gardens and the surgery has helped to tackle the health inequalities in our borough and Chorley East. It's improved life for many residents.
Councillor Cullen.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Could I defer to my colleagues before I speak?
All right. No. Councillor
Unexpectedly promoted there, Mr Mayor. Thank you. It was only a short reflection as well. I was just going to pick up on one of the items that Councillor Bradley or Councillor Wilson didn't reference, and that is the bottom of page 22. The indicators there there's a section, the indicators headed with red, and it's the change in the number of affordable homes and changing the target annually from 111 to 75. It just seems like that is a reduction in our ambition to deliver affordable homes for Chorley. I understand it is linked to the number of actual homes delivered, but I think the danger is when you lower targets, you actually can lower what you achieve rather than leave targets high and see how we deliver against them. And I think it's unfortunate, maybe it's just unfortunate in the context of the report, that it's offset by increasing the target for the number of bush shelters we're going to improve. While I don't disagree that having a few better bush shelters might not be a bad thing for the people of Chorley, I think they'd rather affordable homes opposed to bush shelters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would agree with Councillor Riggett on his principle of exactly minute. Absolutely. Yeah, it does happen. No, I'd agree with the principle of the target because you're absolutely right. If you ever sort of, when you reduce targets, it always has that worrying impact that you may actually reduce your ambition accordingly. I don't think, well, I'm certain in our case that is not the issue. The issue is just a reflection, as it says in there, of what's actually going to be done in this next 12 months. And to sort of say 111, knowing the sites that we've got come forward that are being given planning permission, isn't going to be achievable. That's why it's gone down. So what you may well see, Councillor Riggett, on that is it going back up quite quickly. And on a personal level, that's where I'd like to see it sit. I mean, I well remember defending arguably the indefensible by the rules set by the government, of course, in terms of trying to object to planning applications for both Whittle and Eccleston, and Coppell, of course, on the second iteration of the planning inquiries. And the key thing, one of the key things we got pulled up on was, of course, the affordable housing. Slightly frustrating when we are put one hand tied behind our back in terms of the sustainability argument and the deliverability argument, of course, but there we go, that's the world in which we live. So I do agree, I would always rather see that going up, but I think you have to also be realistic, and then realistic knowing what's going to come in the next 12 months. You have to then sort of tailor it accordingly. But does it mean we're not ambitious in that area? Absolutely not.
Councillor Riggett.
Just come back, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I appreciate Councillor Wilson's comments, and I understand the report isn't going to be changed tonight, but would he consider maybe in future considering reporting against the council's target? Because if in its policy it has like 30% of homes should be affordable, then if we were able to measure our performance against our own target, the number of homes that we can't control necessarily coming forward, we would see how successful we are in that. Thank you.
Councillor
I'm happy to look at that, absolutely, in terms of the future reporting. Yeah.
Right. Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Councillor Wilson mentioned the local plan, which I was led to believe there'd be a report coming out this month, November. What's the hold up?
Councillor Bradley's probably more chomping at the bit. This is his area of expertise. If that's the right way of putting it, given it's not being delivered. I like setting him up for a fall. On a serious note, Councillor Sutherland, I think there's two key issues in recent months. One is there has been a staffing issue which is obviously caused and has caused for a while now some delay. But the key elements this is we're working with our partners. And our partners, I am not critical of them because they've got the same issue that we've got, which is you look after your residents and you promote what you think is in your best interest. That doesn't always directly marry up in terms of not so much the delivery of the plan, but about the pace at which we've been pushing. We've been trying to push at a much faster pace than perhaps some of our partners have been inclined to do so. I think we're getting there, and Councillor Bradley might want to bring members up to speed based on the recent meetings that he's had. But I think in terms of going back to answer your question, what was the delay? That's been the main two issues.
Councillor Riggett, do you want to reply to that? No? All right. No. All right. Councillor Bradley.
Just and members who, Councillor Collins and Councillor Morwood are on the jack with us, and they've been witness to these conversations, and they know the frustrations we've had. But our joint authorities, South Ribble and Preston, are in a different place than we are. So we're at the sharp end of it. They have different drivers on them. We understand that. There's a planning inquiry response, a result that's supposed to come out, I think, this week for South Ribble that they've been waiting on for nearly a year and a half, I think, which is absolutely, frankly, ridiculous that they've been waiting that long as part of their plan. So there's lots of issues going on. By all means, if you want to come and help shift those things along, come and help. The local plan working group here do that. We're not particularly short of staff at the moment. We are direct staff, but consultants have now took that slack up. And there is the last meeting, a programme in place to hit the delivery date that we're talking about now. And the reason we have to do that, and we had that discussion, I think, at 2 meetings ago at this council meeting, is the government are currently changing the rules around local plans, which means if we don't hit that date, we'll go into a new local plan regime, which I think all of us will agree would just put us back to the bottom of the snake and to start again. That's not what we want. We want to get this plan in place, done properly, done correctly, and to give some certainty to our residents. So trust me, we are all behind that. Many officers are involved of all the different departments, and we are breaking every sinew to do that. But it is an incredibly bureaucratic and arcane world of local plan, which is why the government are trying to change it. Whether the next iteration will be any better than this iteration, I'm not quite sure, having seen the first draft. Thank you.
Any more questions? Councillor Collins.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I think with the decision of the Minister of State on Pickering Farm, that I think South Ribble will be wishing they had moved a little bit faster as well. I think where we're at with a corporate plan, and first of all to say why we haven't produced an alternative plan. And very much this is a continuity, and we welcome a lot of the things that are in the plan. We agree fully that the 4 priorities should be the key priorities. I think our difference in many of these things will be just about some of the minutiae, but it's some of the minutiae I think we need to cover and some of the concerns. We very much welcome a couple of things. One of them, first of all, is that the Conservative government investing in Chorley. I think a £20 billion investment is quite significant in belief in this town. The other thing we're very, very keen on is the Rural Prosperity Fund. You know, we've campaigned for a long, long time for businesses in the rural localities. And whatever we can do to help, they do have difficulties. They do have many nuances that are relevant to them only. And we very much welcome what's actually going on there. As I say, our real issues though around some of the indicators. First of all, we discussed a little while ago the tree planting. I'd be very interested to know of those 100,000 how many are still alive. You know, because there's a significant number of those never make it. You know, the other thing, and living in where I live, and one of the issues I get completely time and time again is who is going to maintain these trees? So where is their maintenance plan around it? Because 120,000 trees and potentially more, and I know there's a lot of work with the Woodlands Trust going on. Is there a plan of how they will be managed? Another target that's in there, the percentage of people dissatisfied with the service of the council, 17%. Now, I know it says less than 17%, but I think even that as a benchmark to say that we will be happy to have 17% of the people dissatisfied with our services concerning. I think it's a very too much stretch target. Empty properties. Now, just again, a little bit of clarification on this, because I know the report came back from the Organ Scrutiny Group at the last meeting. This is around a target of 150. Now, I'm just questioning this on the basis that in a recent press report, it was actually quoted that Chorley has in excess of 450 empty property reports at this time. So really, I'm just clarifying what the actual figure is around that time. But generally, yes, we support a lot of the things in here. It is the minutiae I think we're concerned about. There are a number of things we would repeat as well about bus stops with grass on top. You know, there are certain things that stretch a little bit of incredulity, but there we go. But in the main, yes, we do agree with a lot of the things in the report. There's a lot of the things we don't. But what we don't agree with, and this is the fundamental of where we'll come on later, is how this is all funded. You know, we have maxed out nearly our credit card. You know, can we deliver this? And it's a concern to us that we can't, we're maxing it out. So that's why, in a way, we can't fully support the way this has actually come together of how it will be funded. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any more questions? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, no, I agree with Councillor Cullen's opening remark. It is great to get the £20 million in. Third time of asking, 'cause it was rejected twice, and only because a certain person knocked down the door of the Secretary of State and the Prime Minister on a number of occasions, and it's quite enjoyable being sat there with him watching do it. But eventually we got there, so that's all that matters is you get there, and the money will be put to good use. In terms of the points that Councillor Cullen raised, where he had concern, I mean, on the tree planting, you are absolutely right. Of course, not all those trees will survive. That's simple. But that's why you set a big target, because of what you're going to plant. So obviously, you can't say how many are going to survive. I don't know how many are going to survive. I don't know if someone takes a tree on a tree giveaway Saturday, whether they put it in the garden, whether that survives or not. I can't say. The principle is, if you set a high target of what you plant, a reasonable percentage of that will continue. And the reason why I say that, and it comes back to your second point about management, is a lot of that work's being done in conjunction with other people, whether that's Woodland Trust or United Utilities up at Rivington and they do have people who maintain and look after and preserve, and therefore we can guarantee that quite a high percentage will still be there, and therefore it's a good thing. But the reason why you set a high target is for that very reason, and I think to try and drill down and say, we'll do something to actually guarantee that everyone planted will survive. Obviously, you can't. You accept that. So it's about the target being ambitious. What I want to see probably for next time is a new target over 3 or 4 years, right? Again, with a bigger number, so we have to make sure the council, whoever's in control, is committed to that sort of programme of work. In terms of the dissatisfaction rate, I would argue that, well, not argue, just as a statement of fact, under the previous Conservative administration, used to measure satisfaction. And when we came in, we said, actually, let's make it a negative, because actually that makes it harder. You're actually encouraging someone, are you dissatisfied, is actually encouraging them to report that they are. The fact that it's 70% or below is a pretty good achievement for a local authority. From again, I'll probably dig out the old papers, but I think when we measured satisfaction, Mr. Mayor, it used to wobble around the 70% mark. So the fact that only maybe 17% or less are dissatisfied, when actually asked, indicates to me that we're doing very, very well. So I'm more than comfortable with that target staying in as it is, and more than comfortable that we continue to achieve it. In terms of the empty properties, Councillor Collins, if it said 450 properties, I don't know why, because it isn't. It is around that 150 mark. I remember that the last cabinet being reported. I remember that in the papers, and that's why the target's in that region. What we want to do is, is keep those properties in circulation. There are some of those more stubborn ones that are hardest to move, so you're always going to have a certain number. But if I go back 4 or 5 years, as we all know, Councillor France, if I go back even 4 or 5 years when we set this up as a priority, the number was in the sort of 250 to 280 sort of bracket. So I think there's a lot of good work being done. Obviously, you want to do a bit more, but no, just to confirm on that, that's definitely where it sits, not anything higher.
Any more questions? Right. Please can we move to the vote? All those for? All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Committee appointments. This item is for decision. Councillor Collins, please can you present this item?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is just a little bit of a tidying up exercise following the re-election of Councillor Deborah Platt, and something that I don't think we actually covered at the time of the initial annual general meeting. And that really is just the appointments of the shadow cabinet positions, which are myself to cover finance and the chief executive, Councillor Alan Platt, policy and governance, Councillor Lady Riggott, customer and digital, Councillor Craig Southern, planning and development, and Councillor Deborah Platt, communities. And also just a slight change in that will come in line with that, and that's for Councillor Alan Platt as a member of the Development and Assets Working Group to replace Councillor Riggott. So I propose that, Mr. Mayor.
Happy to second that, Mr. Mayor, and happy to be joining Councillor Bradley's dog.
Can I invite members to make any comments? No. To appoint Councillor or a member of the development.
We can just move straight to the
Oh, we don't need to do that, oh, yeah, just miss that. Please can we move to vote? For, all those for. All those against? Any abstentions? Review of members' allowances. This item is for decision. Councillor Bradley, please can you present this item?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, members will recollect at the last council meeting, I think it was, we appointed 3 new members to the independent remuneration panel to make it quorate. We had 1 existing member, but we needed to replace it with additional 3. Those 3 people we voted to accept at the last meeting. That group then met recently, a few weeks ago, and the outcome of their recommendations are in front of you now, which are the recommendations detailed in paragraphs 2 through to 7, which covered in summary, Mr Burke, I'm not going to read the whole lot, but members can read it for themselves. The new allowance for the deputy portfolio holders, the new allowance for the vice chair of governance, and the increase in payment for the chair of governance, the annual uplift for members' allowances based on the officer pay scale agreements that have been done recently, and they set a median rate for that. And there was also, Mr Mayor, the agreement to pay these allowances with effect from the annual meeting in May 23, and to authorise any consequential changes to the Constitution. So they're the recommendations there. Happy to personally accept the, and as a group to represent those, to accept those recommendations from that independent panel, and thank them for their work in doing that for us, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, councillor Wilson, please can you second that?
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Members, any comments or questions? Oh, councillor Cullen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and of course we welcome a report of the independent remuneration panel. I just think it is a little unfortunate in timing that some of these coming forward, that we're now actually going through one of the toughest budgets, and yet we're increasing members' allowances. So, but that's purely timing, that's purely what sits with the remuneration panel. If I could just put my county hat on just for one moment, because I was previously a lead member and want to ensure that we get value for money. One of the things that we had to do at county was to produce an annual report and targets of what each lead member were doing. And I just wondered, would it be possible for those 3 new positions that an annual report could be produced over what they've achieved and what they actually are going to achieve? Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bradley.
Yes, I mean, all executive members and produce reports to our group anyway. So every year you'd be delighted to know, so they can externalise that to the wider councillor group. I'm sure they all love it. Councillor Wilson in particular likes keeping up with Councillor Law, who usually sets the pace. His report's always there first. His homework's done. Yeah, it's like a homework class. You get the ones who do it on the bus, and you get the ones who do it weeks in advance. There is nothing unusual. People don't change in life, in my experience, Councillor. No, we can do that. That's fine. And I think you're quite right. It gets some rigour and robustness into the process.
Please can we move to the vote? No. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. For, all those for, yeah. All those against? Abstentions? Thank you.
You're going, you're going in.
Well, be an idea, yeah, well, yeah.
wouldn't know what to do with himself. Did he?
Right. Yeah. Right. Healthy weight collaboration, pages 49 to 66. This item is for decision. Councillor Murray, please can you present this item?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So in 2017, Lancashire County Council adopted and signed the Healthy Weight Declaration, which outlines commitment to tackling a range of issues influencing unhealthy weight. In 2020, Lancashire County Council commissioned Chorley Council to provide an accessible Tier 2 adult weight management service, and this is now known as Better Health, Better Self. Weight can impact all aspects of life, and the reasons can sometimes be quite complex. The Better Health and Better Self focuses on healthy lifestyle advice and aims to provide those taking part with confidence and knowledge to make positive changes which then improve their health, both physically and mental well-being. And it looks at issues not just around food, but also alcohol, sleep, exercise, etc. Chorley Council have also worked with the Chorley Schools Sports Partnership to run a play and skills at tea time activity programme, which supports healthy behaviours in young children, and it focuses being active as a family and recognises the importance and value of doing it as a family unit. The report details the service requirements from LCC, which build on the current programmes already in place, and how it could possibly move forward and work with other council work streams. The recommendations are to receive the funding and to create an expenditure budget to administer the funding and then proceed to develop the delivery. I really do hope that members can support this, because in other districts, when they've been given the funding, they've commissioned more commercial programmes, which are fine and do focus on health, focus on the food aspect, but not the wider health benefits. Thank you.
Councillor Margaret Franz, please can you second this?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to second this report. There are significant health gains to be had by maintaining a healthy weight. Overweight and obesity increase the risk factors for many common illnesses that beset the Western world, including hypertension, type 2 diabetes, coronary artery disease and stroke. The burden of ill health is felt not only by individuals and families, but impacts on the NHS and social care, the benefit system, and the economic activity of the workforce. As this report explains, a whole system approach is needed to educate and inform residents, to offer the option of an active lifestyle and make exercise a part of everyday life. Weight reduction is indeed complex and requires lifelong changes in behaviour, rather than reaching a target goal and then slipping back. There are opportunities within the emerging local plan to embed principles of healthy communities, as bullet point 12 on paragraph 60 details. It is very encouraging to see the results demonstrated in Appendix 1, where 11 out of 25 participants in the Better Health, Better Self programme, completing 10 weeks, had lost over 5% of their body weight. Continuing to offer these measures and targeting the areas of highest need within our borough will be a significant benefit to population health in Chorley, and I hope you will all support this scheme moving forwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite members to make any comments, please? Oh, Councillor Clark.
Mr Mayor, I've just got myself tied up then. I think everybody will welcome this funding coming down from the County Council. It's obviously of great benefit to our residents. I was only talking to the Director of Communities earlier, actually, and she's most pleased the fact that it's long-term funding and not just maybe 12 months or 2 years. 5 years gives them a great opportunity to put some great schemes together, and with another 3 years on the back of it, it means that we can maintain that and get some real results. So I don't doubt anybody would not welcome this money from the County Council. Thanks very much.
Can any other councillors comment or no? All right. Please can we move to the vote? All those for? All those against? Any abstention? No. Right. Right. Exclusion of public and press. This item missed for a decision. Oh,
Can I move that we exclude the public and press, although some are voting with their feet already, Mr Mayor?
Happy to second, Mr Mayor.
okay, so
Those in favour. We just have those in favour.
all those in favour?
More in favour. We just might need to get people to do that vote again. We can just ask people